why did no one ever tell me this? If I understood a few of these different charts, which I'm going to show you in this video, then I would have a blueprint to understand when the next big pumps in crypto are happening, when the next big dumps will happen, and how to make massive gains throughout this market. I've also used this to identify that the next big coin to pump is one that you're probably never expecting to happen, and I'm going to tell you which one that is if you stick around till later on in the video. So do me a favor, hit that like button, and let's find out what I'm talking about. Now, if you're subscribed to my channel or any others, then you've probably seen this before. It's the Wall Street cheat sheet. And yes, it's an interesting piece of information. It does tell us something, but this isn't the be-all and end-all. Now, for those of you who are unaware, the Wall Street cheat sheet basically tells different sentiment happening at different parts of the market. Like, for example, right now we're kind of in the optimism phase, moving before we enter into the belief phase. But what you've probably never considered is that this sentiment is literally created by the people who make these markets move. And that is the institutional money. And I've just come across this, which is one of the most mind-blowing insights I think I've ever seen across crypto, and I'll show you another piece of the puzzle that fits perfectly into this in just a moment. Now, what we need to understand is that these markets move between lows and highs, and effectively it's just a big game where the big money are moving the market through creating a certain sentiment to encourage us, the retailers, to be buying in or selling up for the big money to make more money. And if we can understand this game and how it really works, then you have a golden ticket to have the inside scoop on everything that is happening. So you can forget blindly staring into charts and not having a clue where they're going to go by understanding a few simple rules. This chart tells us that the smart money is investing through a period of time early on. We then move into the institutional investor phase, where the big money, the likes of BlackRock and various others, who you may have noticed have been publicly investing recently, are buying in. We then get a bit of a sell-off, a bit of a bear trap to catch everyone out, make everyone think we're rolling over into another bear market, create the liquidity for the big banks and everyone to buy in slightly lower before they send us on a run, where suddenly all the public dive in because they're watching it on the news and all those different bits and pieces. All of these different phases through the market are created in line with when we have liquidity entering the system through the global liquidity cycle. And as we look into this first chart right now, you can see this green area down below represents when liquidity is entering into the market, which is very interesting because we've been pretty much in a bull market for Bitcoin for more than a year now, and we are only just starting to turn green on this global liquidity front. And because we're only starting to turn green, it means the liquidity isn't massive in the system right now, and therefore we are clearly in this institutional investment phase, which means that we are yet to rally into this crazy blow off top part of the cycle, which means we are still incredibly early despite the fact that Bitcoin is already at 51k. And while it might feel to you like the bull market's absolutely flying and you've kind of too late for a bunch of these different coins because most of them have been doing like 4 or 5 X's over the last few months, you're absolutely wrong. So how do we know that we're not in the public phase? What kind of indicator can we look for? Well, think about it. You represent the public. So think about what it was that brought you into crypto in the first place. If you were new and entering into crypto, which is what we really need, the new people entering into crypto, what was it that first got you in back in the day? Well, it was probably because your friends were talking about making lots of money. Right now, you've probably been making a bit, and maybe you've been telling a few of your friends about crypto, but you haven't, started to tell everyone. You also haven't started to see it on the news, okay? It's not appearing across BBC, it's not really on CNN right now. Crypto is still very quiet, and that's because the institutions need more time to gather money into the system right now. Now, once you found out about crypto, you probably then went away and did what everyone does. You went and said, how do I buy Bitcoin? Who pops up first? Probably Coinbase. And why is that? Well, because Coinbase is extremely easy to use. It onboards more customers into crypto than any other platform out there. And now if you're thinking like me, you're like, okay, so is there a chart out there or some information that tells me how many people are onboarding into Coinbase? Because if I can identify how many people are onboarding into Coinbase right now, then it's probably going to give me a lot of information in how much into this public kind of phase we are and just how big Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market can get. Well, guys, don't fear. As you've probably come to expect, if you're subscribed, I've kind of found it. Okay, the chart that we really want to be paying attention to that no one's actually even talked about right now. And what is it? It's a kind of, a boring metric, but it's an interesting one. Okay, what this represents is the blue line is Coinbase ranking on the App Store. And you're like, okay, fine. You'll notice the yellow line as well, which indicates the Bitcoin price. And when the Bitcoin price is absolutely rallying, you'll see the Coinbase app suddenly rockets all the way up here. up the top, this is like top 100. So suddenly it gets into the top 100 at the end of 2020. We can then see it sits around this area and suddenly goes to around #1 ranking in the entire App Store for a period of time while Bitcoin's high, Bitcoin dumps, the App Store dumps, and then you can see it basically goes. But most importantly, what do we see right now, if we look across the right-hand side of this chart, is that Bitcoin has been really growing towards the upside. But lo and behold, Coinbase, the app that onboards everyone into crypto, isn't getting many hit rates on the ranking apps. And you're like, well, yeah, because there's lots of new, better exchanges. There might be now that you've been in crypto for a while and you understand that, but I know I did, and I'm sure you did, got involved in crypto for the first time through Coinbase. And yet Coinbase sits down here in the number 500, 400 position on the top ranking apps in the App Store. And wowee. And this is the most killer metric. If you use this information right now, then you can identify, coming back to this chart, that we are not in this public phase, although it might feel like it a lot with a lot of these crypto projects, but we're still in this institutional investor phase. And that tells us something really cool. We've got this still to come. So while everyone's like, oh yeah, well, the bull market's going to be over and done with before like the middle of this year, BS, okay? We're still in the institutional investor phase. We still have huge, crazy things to come, which is very, very promising, very exciting. And you will notice something here. First sell-off and bear trap. So bearing in mind this pattern happens over and over again in markets, we can look at the last bull market and identify what happened, and look at this bull market and identify what's happening as well. So in the last bull market, you can see that we basically came from that COVID bottom and basically sort of moved all our way up. We then had a very sort of aggressive first move into the market, and basically before we were up breaking all-time highs, which happened around November 2020, we had basically a kickback, a fake out, a bear trap that happened here around this date, the 2nd of September 2020. And you'll see up until then, we had very strong rallies into this period of time where we were sat around 24% below previous all-time highs. From that 24%, we then sort of fell around another sort of 16% before kicking into the market. Now you'll notice something significant. Before that last kind of bear trap, we were yet to get to all-time highs. So from all-time highs down towards the top of that, it was down around sort of 10, the main kind of range was around sort of 13 to 15% down. And then from that kind of top, we then fell around 20% before suddenly entering into an explosive bull market. And that happened in the matter of days. Literally a couple of weeks after that, we were breaking beyond previous all-time highs and then seeing something crazy. So if we look at where we are right now compared to previous all-time highs, we topped out around just 22% under that all-time high. And that tells me that I think we're in a very similar position right now to this area in the market. This is just before the institutions say, right, you know, we've almost filled our bags. We're going to have one last dump towards the downside because of some BS FUD thing that we're going to create about Binance or some other exchange, who knows what it is. And then suddenly the market's going to drop a bit. Everyone dives in. We get the bull market going. And then what happens? All the media attention starts to get funneled back into the market. When the media attention comes around, that's because we'll have the Bitcoin halving event, typically the sign of the start of the bull market, you know, and then everyone gets involved. And then the whole media cycle starts. We rally towards the upside. Things are very good. And many people are like, okay, well, we're going to get our bear trap. Let's wait for the bear trap. We can get in. Guys, this previous bear trap for Bitcoin did, you know, this. It dropped around 17%, which is not a lot at all. And then it rallied into a crazy bull market. If Bitcoin was to drop right now from the top of that recent peak, 17%, then you get down to around $43,000, $44,000, which really isn't a huge amount. And maybe it never comes. So I think, yes, have a bit of a cash reserve ready, but ultimately I think we're about to break into that next phase. We're going to start seeing the next phase, which is where the Coinbase app starts to move up higher in its rankings. So hopefully you understand by now. It's literally just a case of analyzing the news and the idea or the sentiment that's in the market right now. Right, so where are we? Well, I told you that I was promising you that, you know, we were going to know exactly where we are right now. And I've given you a bit of a theory from my own brain, my own ideas. And that's probably not enough for the skeptics out there. So let's dig a little deeper. Now, if you understand crypto at all, you will know the big money floods into Bitcoin first, okay? Because it's the stable asset. But after Bitcoin, what happens next? It goes into Ethereum, right? Okay. And you're like, well, no, Ethereum's really slow. Get that out of your head, okay? Stop thinking about how good projects are against each other. A lot of it's make-believe. Guys, coins with frogs in them have gone to multi-billion-dollar market caps. It's mostly ridiculous. Apart from Deepin. Love a bit of Deepin. Anyway, that's for another day. I'm going to get sidetracked. Stick with me. Now, guys, here we are. Bitcoin. I want to look at something. Because at the top, I've got Ethereum BTC. So if we can understand the relationship, when Bitcoin gets moving, Ethereum gets moving, and if we can understand where Bitcoin is right now and the ETH BTC chart and what it's basically signaling, we can put all this together and then we can have an even clearer idea of what happens next. Right, I identified, I think we're about here for Bitcoin, okay? And yet, it's a slightly different market cycle this time. We have obviously been seeing much more growth. But remember, that's because the institutions have been running longer. The institutions are driving this market right now. We've got proof of that because of the Coinbase app thing. Anyway, that happened around, that little like bear trap happened around the 24th of August, 2020. Now you can see, I think we were before this kind of like potential little bear trap thing here. And if you look at the ETH BTC chart around this time, it goes from this red box and it starts to enter back into the blue box. And you're like, okay, what's the red box? What's the blue box? One moment, please. I will explain. Here we are. Blue box, basically the kind of the range. Red box is basically like the stone cold like accumulation zone for the die-hard crypto fans. No one at this point is really paying attention to any of crypto at these points because it's the bottom of the bear markets. And then you kind of move into the phase of like early speculation where people like you and me who haven't got many better things to do are getting into crypto really nice and early. And then you get into the kind of like the FOMO phase where your granny's buying gaming coins because she's watched an Alex Becker video, but we're not there yet, okay? So red box goes into blue box. Here right now, we've been in red box twice. We're now in red box and we are, guess what, breaking into blue box. And not only that, but this big red line represents something very interesting. First things first, if you look at any other chart, and you've seen my channel before, you will see that this basically represents a buy zone. Now that represents an area at which every time it reaches that value, bigger money is willing to jump in. How do I know that? Well, because look at what happens every time we get into this zone. We see sharp spikes out of it. Now, if you subscribed as well, you would have identified along with me that time and time again, you get these accumulation phases where you suddenly bounce out of these areas. You then sort of slowly trickle down, dip down, and then bang. And guess what? When you get this point where you bounce from this area after a new kind of lower low, this was the low. Now we've got an even lower low there. You then see a break beyond this line and then suddenly bang. And remember, when we get that kind of bang move there, that's when the altcoin season starts to move. And you can see, we are literally, potentially, days away from this break in the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. And what do we think is a good place to be right now if we're looking into the Ethereum Bitcoin chart? Bearing in mind, there's one coin that's really not got much attention, although it sits up there, one of the biggest market caps, is about to launch an ETF, which I don't think is yet priced into the market, already has the biggest user base in all of cryptocurrency, is dropping updates and things all the time, and is where institutional money floods from Bitcoin next. And it's Ethereum, okay? Ethereum right now, from its all-time highs down to its current price, under by about 40%. I think the next explosive run from any particular crypto is more than likely going to be Ethereum. And who knew? And I'm not the only one who thinks this, okay? Adrian Ferrier of .eth also posted this tweet, which you can pause and screenshot if you wish to read it in full, because I'm not going to waste all your time reading it myself. And he basically highlights something really interesting at the bottom of this. Regulatory clarity for stable coins will come at around the same time. Basically, this thing, ETF for ETH, will be absolutely crazy because ETH in the past, people have been talking about it being a security. It should clear up all the noise around XRP. It should clear up all the noise around other altcoins in question. He says if you haven't got any exposure to ETH, then you basically fucked it up and you're an idiot. Don't shoot the messenger. And we see right now ETH sitting around $2,900, which obviously it's been much cheaper recently, like every other bloody coin out there. And that's something I want you to be aware of, guys. While it feels aggressive and everything has been pumping really strongly right now, I'm not telling you to kind of like FOMO in, but this is probably the last safe moment to be FOMOing in. If we get a decent pullback and you have FOMOed in, it's okay because you've kept a cash reserve. But obviously that's not financial advice. Do your own research, because I'm not trained to be able to tell you that or any of the things I've talked about. They're all just in my own head. They're all just theories and ideas. And if you like my theories and ideas, you damn well better be subscribed. So, looking at where ETH is right now, I think a solid bounce to around 3.5 grand is on the cards, and I think it's going to happen extremely soon. I'm talking days away from that ETH breakout of BTC. 22%. If ETH does this, it's going to pull way more money into the market because institutions will go directly into ETH, which hasn't really happened in the past. It's more been through Bitcoin. I think money will flow maybe from Bitcoin as well, and this will start the whole altcoin seasons going absolutely parabolic. Maybe we get parabolic moves in lots of coins. We then get a little bit of a sell-off. Maybe ETH gets to around this sort of $3,000, $4,000 level, has a little dip back down to $3,500, and then gets on its merry way. Bitcoin maybe does the same, heads back towards all-time highs, maybe has a cheeky dip back down to around 40k, 50k, whatever, and then gets on its way. All very straightforward, really. While lots of people who are watching YouTube videos and stuff all getting like enthusiastic and really excited and maybe a bit greedy and whatever, everyone else out there is not doing it. Even guys who were in crypto and stuff last time are not really even paying attention. They're like, I'll get into crypto when it starts moving again. I'll get in during the bull market. They don't even know that we've been in a bull market for over a year. And I think, to be honest, Ethereum could well be heading to around 7 or 8k during this bull market. And this is great for the lower risk tolerance investors because Ethereum is destined for big things. But more importantly, as ecosystem of tokens will also see a healthy boost if Ethereum starts to boom as well, despite those dirty big gas fees which are not helping anyone. Anyway, guys, if you want to get ahead of the game and you're struggling to find information in any place, then get into the Inner Circle Discord, which is linked down below. It's just $20 per month, and if you sign up for a year, then you can get a big discount, a big saving. And why would you want to be in the Inner Circle? Good question. Well, first of all, you can hang out with other people and ask lots of questions. More importantly, though, is the introduction recently of the brand new trade zone where you can get daily trading signals from 4 or 5 carefully selected full-time crypto traders. And you can see they are basically hitting take profits. And basically, if you follow some of these trades and you stick to your own risk parameters on these, then you can hit winning trades like this one that legendary trader over here, posted just the other day for AIOZ, and you get multiple of these signals every single day. Not only that, but you'll also be able to invest in a pre-ICO coins where you can invest alongside the likes of Binance Labs, Polygon Studios, etc., and not having to be on some expensive as hell launch pad where you have to stake a bunch of different tokens. You literally don't need to stake anything. You can invest in a bunch of different projects. At the moment, we're doing sort of 3 to 4 new projects every single month, and you can invest in all of them if you really want to. Benefit of this is that typically these are heavily discounted prices, pre-ICO, where you can get in sometimes at like a 10% or 20% of the valuation of a company before it goes live on the market, which means you could ultimately see maybe a 10x on launch day in the coins that you're holding from pre-sales. There's also a whole section on NFTs and gaming for those people who are interested in that narrative. There's stuff on airdrops where you can get involved. You can find out more about airdrops. You can share your airdrop links. And there's also wallet tracking where if you were following my video yesterday talking about different whale wallets, you can go and access some of the biggest whales in there and get all the alerts as and when it happens. Now, all of that down in the link below. Don't miss out, guys. Now, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, I would really love it if you could just do me a favor, get down below, hit that like button. I spent hours and hours each day researching and creating these different videos, and I really thank you for just taking time to do that. Also, if you're new to the channel and you want something a bit different, a bit more fresh and exciting, then make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you tomorrow in another video.